not a crazy week, specifically and especially considering what happened the weekend prior to that and the weekend prior to that and how hectic those crazy events were. However, events still went down. Shortly after I ended Friday's show, there was a fight card unfolding. I want to break that down to you guys today because it's interesting. Not high profile fights, but important fights in the boxing world. So let's get right to it. The very first one I want to address is Bruce Carrington, as we know, SchuZ Show. Interesting fight. He moves to 13-0, 8 KOs in his career, and he won a controversial 10-round fight, majority decision, against Sulaiman Segawa, who now falls to 17-5 and 1, and he also has 6 KOs, and this was in a featherweight fight. Here's what I want to say about this fight now. SchuZ Show is a prospect that people are still consider a prospect at least, but he is 27 years old now. I'm not going to write him off by any stretch of the imagination. He still has a future. But when we were leading up to this fight, there was talks about him fighting Inoue if Inoue were to move up in ranks, and that didn't make sense to even begin with because Inoue was going to go for a champion if he were to move up 26 anyways. But Bruce Carrington went out and he got the win, but it was very controversial. And if you disagree with the fact that he won that fight or not, I'm all in with that. I completely can see both sides of that. I think he won very, very slightly, but I think he did win that fight. However, it was very controversial and very, very close. And it should not have been. It was a fight that I think a lot of people looked at and said, hey, this was supposed to be a statement by SchuZ Show. He was supposed to walk out there, put on a performance that was going to wake a lot of people up. It was going to be a performance where it was a step-up fight, and he was supposed to make a statement, and then we see him get a title fight with Inoue, possibly if that were to ever happen, or at least one of the guys at 26 currently. That's not what I think he got himself locked in for now. What needs to happen is that he needs to go back into the lab. Nothing wrong with it. At the end of the day, I'm not somebody who likes to go judge a fighter off his last fight. It is what it is. But you're not going to be able to go get those big fights next because of this last performance. It just is what it is. That being said, though, by no means is his great career off the table now. He still has a bright future. He just needs to get back in the lab, get back to work, and prepare for what he's going to do next. Because he still has a lot of stuff he needs to get done. He has a lot of things he can improve on and get better at so that he can be better prepared to go compete for a possible championship down the road. So what do I look like? Well, when I look at this, let me say one other thing about him actually. When we look at the weigh-ins for that fight, at least I haven't seen anything yet. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't think he was looking that well in the weigh-ins. He looked very drained. And I haven't heard anything that it didn't go well or whatnot, but he did look extremely drained. So it makes me wonder, does he have to move up a weight class eventually? Or how soon is that going to be? So that's something to keep an eye on. But what do I do want to say? Well, what's next for him? I think the biggest fight you make that makes the most sense for him is Stephen Coolboy Fulton. You have a domestic fight, 2 well-known guys, and this can be your statement. Can you go beat a guy that people know around the country? Can that be your statement fight that you make against Coolboy? That's the fight I think needs to happen. If that's not on the table, Luis Nery, Ramirez is an option there. And maybe. I think he needs to wait one more fight to a championship fight. But Ray Vargas, Brandon Figueroa, those could be guys that's on the table as well. But like I said, the biggest thing right now, Stephen Coolboy Fulton is the fight to make. Fulton can go solidify himself as a legitimate contender to possibly get a championship belt fight, and you get a big domestic fight. Would love to see those two guys go down. Would like that fight to have happen. Secondly, on the other side of that, Sulaiman, he did look good. Obviously, was the number 3 ranked contender there, and he looked solid overall. Like I said, if you think he won that fight, by no means could you be wrong there. I think he did a very, very good performance in that fight as well. Then let's go to the fight that followed that, and that was Xander Zayas. He moved to 20-0, defeating Damian Sosa, who now moved to 25-3, unanimous decision. After 10 rounds at super welterweight, all 3 decisions scored the fight 100-90. That was as clean a day scoring that you could possibly have done. He dominated that from start to finish. All 10 rounds, he was clear-cut, dominant over Sosa, and he made his mark. What I'll say is this. Xander Zayas, he's the real deal. 20-0, sure you can still label him a prospect, but I think his future is extremely bright. Xander Zayas is a guy that I think is ready to make that step-up fight even larger than just a guy like Sosa. Seeing him go fight a guy like Jesus Ramos Jr., Charles Conwell, Josh Kelly, Erickson Lubin, that next step up, he's ready for it. And he is a guy that I think after watching him this past weekend showed himself to be someone that I could see competing for a belt in the future. I'm not sure how soon, but in the very near future, I think I could see him competing for a championship belt because he made his mark this past weekend. He showed that no, even when he steps up, he is performing at a dominant level. He's ready to go against some of the other top guys, And I'm excited for that because he is still a young fighter, and he's 20-0 right now and just had a complete domination on Damian Sosa. So Xander Zayas made his mark this weekend, probably the biggest winner, in my opinion, of this weekend when it comes to the fight world. Then let's go into the women fighters from this weekend. Very, very interesting. The main event for the card I've been discussing, Mikaela Mayer ended up defeating Sandy Ryan by majority decision in a thriller. This ended up winning her the WBO welterweight world title. However, the biggest news from that fight, well, that could have very well been the fight of the year. As Sandy Ryan left her hotel pre-fight, she was attacked by someone who threw a can of paint at her. And she believes still that it was a member of Mayer's team. That is a massive storyline to follow. We don't have any other details yet. There's a police report going on. Supposedly there's a surveillance camera. If this all gets tracked down and busted, this could be a massive boxing scandal news that will have to be addressed in another show. I don't have details like that, so I'm not going to go rumor or anything. That's not what I do. But what I do know is that in this fight right here, it was a great fight. She lost her belt, and a lot of people said, hey, it's just pain. It's not going to hurt you that badly. No, but when you're preparing for any athletic competition, specifically boxing, you want to be in the utmost locked-in mindset. Having somebody throw a thing of paint on you is going to make you get distracted no matter how focused you are. And having to go through a police report and all those things pre-fight, that's going to distract anybody. So that is a legitimate excuse if she wants to utilize that. And if this ends up being something that Mikaela Mayer did, then there's going to have to be legitimate litigation involved here. And the challenging the belt, obviously she would have to lose that belt there, and she would be in massive trouble. So that was an interesting fight, potential fight of the year. Incredible fight right there, but crazy situation that happened pre-fight there. And then we go to Alycia Baumgardner, and that fight was one that she was going to dominate from start to finish. She was expected to do so. However, it was ruled a no contest due to a clash of heads. And it was before the fourth round, therefore automatically the doctors ruled a stoppage, and it becomes a no contest fight. It would have been a domination by her. She had a great performance to begin with. Everyone probably expected her to win that fight. She already was making her mark in just a few short rounds there until the unfortunate head clash. So is that a fight we're going to see at a rematch? I don't know. Either way, I think Baumgardner would have won that fight regardless. So that's what I've got for you guys for a fight recap from this past weekend.